Welcome to today's episode of the Musketeers podcast. We're your hosts, Hayden, Julie, and Jane. Think this, you're a kid and there are many things you think and believed in. Then as soon you get older, it is not what you thought. Well, guess what? This is what today's episode is about.
Today, we'll talk about some of the dumbest things we thought as kids.
We know there are some kids that like to think about some dumb things, though they're young and don't know or at least didn't know. Guess what? We were like that as kids too.
Though, when we were older kids, teenagers or adults, we would know the real truth.
We think when we grow, we learn.
Okay, without a further ado, let's get into the episode.
Okay, so when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I would think that people would live up to 100 years old. Then, when I was like 7, I learned that people can live up to over 100 and also 110. Like the one who lived for over 120 years, she died aged 122.
Looks like Jane lived to learn when the record was broken, longest living person.
Yup, that is when I learned people could live up to more than 100.
One thing I used to think until I got into 3rd grade. I used to think that school would end in 5th grade. Then I heard the word middle school and high school. That is how I knew. I started crying because I really liked elementary school and I was too scared to grow old. Now you see, it's too late now. I am close to 40 and you know how I feel.
We are in Hayden's shoes. With us being born in the 1980s and 1990, growing old is something else.
That is true.
Anyways, one thing I thought as a kid, I thought that all teachers lived at school. However, when I was like 10, I remember visiting my teacher's house at some point. Don't ask why, but it was at some point when I was 10. I was in 4th grade.
Oh, lucky. I wish I was like Julie, honestly. My teachers, like every one of them, were strict and would yell, "Jane, do your work."
That's true.
As a kid, I used to think Canada was part of the United States, until 4th grade. That's when I learned that Canada is just a country on top of the United States. I have lived in New York for all of my 33 years of living, so I do feel like it did kind of made sense. I am talking about Niagara Falls, which straddle the Canadian border. So in 4th grade, I learned that Canada was another country.
As a kid, I used to think that anyone born before 1975 could see in black and white. Yeah, I know. It is crazy of me to think that.
I do get what he thought. There are some black and white photos taken in 1975, or any year.
Because I have seen old pictures of my mom when I was kid. That photo was in black and white and taken in 1974. I also saw one taken in 1972. Also black and white.
Remember that color cameras also exist. They were around longer than you think.
That's true. That means anyone born after 1975 saw color. I learned that when I was 9, I saw color. I was born in 1986.
When I was a kid, I used to think that death was only in movies until I was about 7. When I was 7, I remember winning a pet fish at a fair, and then it died, not even a week later. So that is when I discovered death in real life.
I wonder what happened to the fish.
The fish died, so my parents decided to bury it and make a funeral for it. I am glad they did not flush it down the toilet, since it is just cruel to me.
Yeah, I agree. That's what my cousin's parents did. They flushed her fish in the toilet.
That's terrible.
When I was a kid, I used to think superpowers were real, but when I was like 8, I was sad to learn that they do not exist at all.
We feel Jane's pain. We wish they were real, but we need to accept the fact they don't exist.
Yeah, I love how they asked us questions like, if we had a superpower, what would it be?
Oh boy, those were the times.
Yup.
What I thought as a kid, I thought that aliens were real. Now as an adult, I do not think if they are really real.
We do not know either, and we are adults too.
Seems like this question will remain unsolved.
I guess we'll never know.
When I was a kid, I used to think that tomatoes, zucchinis, peppers, eggplants, avocados, or cucumbers were vegetables, until I was an adult. I learned that they were fruits. I was in college at the time and I needed some proof. Then I discovered they had seeds, so that explains why.
That feeling you felt for what you saw, and then you were older, you learned the truth.
Yeah, it's confusion that got over my head.
When I was a kid, I thought scary stories were real. Then I got older and I started to accept the fact that they were fake.
See, Jane, learn, do not take it so seriously.
That was when I was 12. I started taking it seriously.
So was that when Jane started to get mature?
If you say so.
As a small child, I thought boy was for boys only and pink was for girls only. I know it may sound sexist of me to think that. I did learn boy can like pink and girls like blue.
Yeah, we girls or women like blue too.
But Julie liked the color pink a lot, not cause she is a feminist.
So true. I remember when I was like 13, I actually thought J. Lo and Jennifer Lopez were two different people. But later, around the time I was still 13, I found out that it is the same person, the same singer. Yes, I was that confused as a teenager.
Do not worry, we always get confused who is who.
Yeah.
As a kid, I used to think that 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 4 plus 5 minus 6 plus 7 minus 8 plus 9 was 20, since I was good at counting in elementary school, but I solved this problem in middle school and got 45. I was super disappointed.
Middle school. Jane, think again.
Yeah, middle school was the year I started learning more.
When I was a child, like a small child, I used to think zombies were real. I would be so scared and I would cry because I thought zombies were real, though when I was 8, I learned that they did not exist.
What we see on TV always played with our feelings.
Then we learned they do not exist. It is only on TV.
But still,
when I was a kid, I thought ghosts were real and I cried over that. This was until my mom told me that it is not real. My dad played that trick on me. 6-year-old me was scared to sleep alone, and they bought me a night light to help me out. Yes, my feelings were played too. Thanks a lot, Dad.
See, even Julie's feelings were played too. Well guys, I think that is all we thought as children anyways. Thanks for listening to today's episode.
Today's episode question: what are things you thought as a kid and learned the truth when you got older?
Make sure to follow the Musketeers podcast on Instagram and Twitter.
We'll talk to you guys in the next episode. Bye.